and welcome. You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Anna Cree, coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada. It is Sunday, February 28, 2021. Tonight, we have updates from several of our correspondents across North America, starting with Eliza Gonzalez Manglikmot in Washington.
The Department of Justice addresses the dire threat of domestic terrorism and hate crimes targeting Asian Americans. And the Philippine Embassy in Washington is extremely concerned about the rise of hate crimes against Asian Americans.
Bureau Chief Myla Simbulan in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf's charter school plan that protects students, parents, and taxpayers.
Bureau Chief Philip Toledo in Atlanta, Georgia.
Georgia expands vaccine eligibility.
Lori Jarvina in Las Vegas, Nevada.
McCarran Airport to be renamed. Federal approval needed next.
Susan Husk in Dallas reports about President Biden visiting Texas after the devastating winter storm. Next, we have Bureau Chief Thomas Likeness in Edmonton, Alberta.
You've got mail. A new promotion from Canada's Post Office.
Jairus Kayabyab in Corpus Christi reports about the city kicking off the construction of an iconic landmark. Plus, for tonight's roundtable, March 1st is National Peanut Butter Lovers Day. Let's share Peanut Butter Lovers Day and blank in perfect combinations. Our coverage begins now. Ahead of a donor conference aimed at averting a famine, Auki Lutzma, the United Nations Development Program's country director, warns the war in Yemen is turning the impoverished country into an unviable state that will be almost beyond repair.
Continue like this, Yemen as a country will be very difficult to rebuild if more assets get destroyed and people become poorer and poorer, and it becomes almost like an unviable state.
Tens of thousands of people have been killed and millions have gone hungry in the 6-year conflict in what the United Nations describes as the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Schools, factories, hospitals, and businesses have been destroyed or shuttered, depriving hundreds of thousands of their livelihoods. Countless children have been denied an education, and some have been recruited to fight. With so much damage to its infrastructure, Lutzma says Yemen is now witnessing the worst development crisis in the world.
Yemen has lost more than 2 decades of development progress over this time span. So it's been very serious, and it has really also thrown Yemen into a situation where it has become one of the poorest countries in the world. It's important to understand that the famine in Yemen is very much an income famine. So it's not necessarily a situation whereby food is not available, but Yemenis are not really able to afford a minimum food basket, a minimum food supply in the household that will give them enough nutrition to survive the day. The UN cannot feed everyone in Yemen. Therefore, we also must make sure that people continue to have livelihoods.
The long years of conflict between forces loyal to the internationally recognized government, supported by Saudi Arabia and the Iran-backed Houthi rebels, who have seized much of the north, have left the country on the brink of total destruction.
The war has to stop, and it has to stop now. Yemenis have suffered enough, and are really on the edge of falling into a situation whereby more than half the population is in a state of famine.
In other news, Myanmar security forces opened fire on protesters Sunday, killing at least 8 in the bloodiest action so far to smother opposition to the military coup 4 weeks ago. The junta is battling to contain a massive street movement demanding it yield power and release ousted civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi, who was detained along with top political allies at the start of the month. Sunday brought a significant escalation in force, with fatal shootings of protesters in at least 4 cities around the country, as police and soldiers attempted to bring the civil disobedience campaign to heel. The United Nations condemned the deeply crackdown, saying it had received credible information that as many as 18 people may have been killed. Ravina Shamdasani, spokeswoman for the UN Human Rights Office, says We strongly condemn the escalating violence against protests in Myanmar and call on the military to immediately halt the use of force against peaceful protesters. Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Justice addresses the threat of domestic terrorism and hate crimes targeting Asian Americans. In Washington, ABC's Eliza Gonzalez Manglik-Mod is with us this evening. Eliza?
Thanks, Anna. Good Sunday evening to you and a great Monday morning to our friends on the other side of the globe. In a remark delivered Friday by Acting Deputy Attorney General John Carlin, he addressed the reports of horrific attacks on Asian Americans across the United States. Carlin said no one in America should fear violence because of who they are or what they believe. Period. These types of attacks have no place in society, and any form of domestic terrorism or hate-based violent extremism will not be tolerated. He said the department is committed to putting a stop to it. Now, referencing the attack on the U.S. Capitol early this year, Carlin said over 300 individuals have been charged in connection with the events on January 6th, and over 280 have been arrested. Carlin said the threat is bigger than any one event, no matter how horrific. He said the threat includes efforts to intimidate or terrorize our neighbors and members of our community based only on who they are and what they look like. Carlin mentioned that all one needs to do is look at the recent footage from New York and California to see those horrific attacks directed at Asian Americans to realize how dire these threats are. Carlin presented ways the Department of Justice is defeating this threat. First, confronting the challenge using an intelligence-led threat-driven approach grounded in data and intelligence assessments of career experts. Second, to be steadfast in maintaining commitment to civil liberties. And third, to take an all-tools approach to combating domestic terrorism, just as with other significant national security threats. Carlin said, we must return to an America where no one fears violence because of who they are or what they believe. Meanwhile, a protest against attacks on people of Asian descent draws a large crowd to New York's Foley Square. Speaking at the rally, Senator Chuck Schumer says redoubling the fight against hate crimes is a must. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio warns those who commit hate crimes about the consequences of their actions, and this includes prosecution. New York Attorney General Leticia James urged people to take to the streets and raise their voices against those who hate. Now, for some weather update here in the nation's capital, Anna, it is currently 44 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 degrees Celsius. In Washington, Eliza Gonzalez Manglik-Mod, Eagle News, will live in interesting times. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Eliza. Yeah, you know, we've seen incidents, and we've heard about these incidents happening early on in the pandemic. It's really disheartening, you know, to see so much of it has escalated. Do you know if the Philippine Embassy or Consulate General is there? How did they react to this issue of hate crimes against Asian Americans?
Anna, in a recent statement published by the Philippine Embassy, it called on federal, state, and local authorities to ensure protection of persons of Asian descent, and of course, this includes Filipinos. It also advises Filipinos to exercise caution and report any hate crimes to the authorities. Now, Ambassador Romualdez of the Philippine Embassy interviewed with EBC's Weng de la Fuente just a few hours ago and said that the embassy immediately sent a report to the State Department on the states where hate crimes were reported, and the embassy is hoping that they will react. Ambassador Romualdez said it obviously increased in the recent months, and the embassy sent a letter calling the attention of several senators, those in the Justice Committee, and those involved precisely in the Asian hate crimes and racial discrimination. Let's take a look at a clip of that interview.
We're watching this very carefully, and we're asking our Filipino Americans and Filipinos living here in the United States to let us know right away of any serious incident, and if there is some verbal incidents, they can also report to our consulates in their area so that we can take it up immediately with the authorities. We're doing our best in making sure to protect our Filipino kababayans, both Filipino Americans also.
Anna, the ambassador also mentioned the alarming rate of the rise of hate crime incidents, especially one that is very disturbing is the incident of a 67-year-old Filipino who was slashed from ear to ear in New York City. Ambassador Romualdez said the embassy is watching this very carefully and is asking Filipino Americans and Filipinos living here in the United States to let them know right away of any serious incident. And if there was some verbal incidents, they can also report it to the consulates in the area so that they can take it up immediately with the authorities. The embassy also said that they are doing their best in making sure to protect the Filipino kababayans and Filipino Americans here in the United States. He also discussed why racial discrimination is alarmingly escalating here in the country. Now, for the full interview, watch Net 25's Bali Talakayan, hosted by no other than EBC's Ms. Weng de la Fuente. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Eliza, for that report. We can only hope that, increased awareness with a lot of the conversations happening regarding this issue will lead to some interventions. Thank you, Eliza. Be safe out there.
You too, Anna.
And now an overview of today's COVID-19 numbers. According to the Coronavirus Resource Center of Johns Hopkins University in Medicine, as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday, February 28, 2021, the number of cases of COVID-19 reported worldwide is now more than 113,972,000. Top 3 on the list of countries with recorded cases: U.S. with more than 28.5 million, followed by India with more than 11 million, and Brazil with more than 10.5 million. This virus has now already claimed more than 2,528,000 lives worldwide. Top 3 countries again with the most number of COVID-19 related deaths are U.S., more than 512,000, followed by Brazil with more than 254,000, and Mexico, more than 185,000. U.S. President Joe Biden says there is no time to waste and urges the Senate to pass the $1.9 trillion stimulus plan after the House of Representatives approved the package on the mostly party line vote. Take a look.
Bill moves to the United States Senate, where I hope will receive quick action. We have no time to waste. If we act now, decisively, quickly, and boldly, we can finally get ahead of this virus. We can finally get our economy moving again. And the people of this country have suffered far too much for too long. We need to relieve that suffering. The American Rescue Plan does just that. It relieves the suffering. And it's time to act.
Barber Mike Brown carefully guides his trimmer as he fights misconceptions about COVID-19 among his African-American customers who face an outsized risk from the virus but are less likely to get vaccinated against it. Take a look.
I mean, a lot of the black people in the community, they don't trust the corporate level pharmaceutical companies. That's the reason why they won't, they won't really go to a doctor or see a doctor until their arm is about to fall off. They're just misled by misinformation. When you ask them questions like, my favorite one is how I address the clients is, if the vaccination is plan A to stop the spread of the coronavirus and you don't want to take it, what's your plan B, scientifically speaking, that's going to stop the spread of it? And they can never answer the question. They did us in Tuskegee. They want to kill us. They want to depopulize us. They want to wipe us out. It's so many conspiracies that you hear. They want to put a chip in you. They want to. I say, well, you already got the chip. It's in your phone.
Up next, updates from Pennsylvania and Georgia. Eagle News America continues.
Ito na ang pagkakataon mong ipamalas ang natatangi mong galing sa pagkanta at pagsayaw. Kaya if you have what it takes to become the Tagisa ng Galing Part 2 Grand Winner, ipadala na ang inyong audition videos. Kung ikaw ay 18 to 65 years old, may angking galing sa pagsayaw at pagkanta, ipadala na ang inyong audition videos sa tagisananggaling@gmail.com or contact Nikki sa 0977-651-9504 para sa singing category. Shing sa 0995-880-8004 at Ninibel sa 0995-330-4653 para naman sa dancing category. Narito naman ang guidelines sa paggawa ng inyong audition videos. You can also follow and like our Facebook page at Tagisan ng Galing at Net25 for more information. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Tagisan ng Galing at Net25. Kaya ano pang hinihintay nyo? Sali na! Ipakita ang inyong galing, manalo ng 2 million pesos at maging bahagi ng pinakamalaki at pinakamalawak na talent competition on Philippine TV and online. Tagisan ng Galing Part 2!
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Anna Cui in Las Vegas. Vaccine eligibility in the state of Georgia is expanding. In Atlanta, Bureau Chief Philip Toledo has the details. Philip?
Thanks, Anna. Now, if you've been tuning in the last couple of weeks as we've given updates on the vaccine distribution here in Georgia, not a whole lot has changed. We've had too much demand and not enough shots to go beyond the frontline healthcare workers and the age 65 and above population. But late last week, Governor Brian Kemp gave the update that many have been waiting and hoping to hear.
Since mid-January, we have seen a 70% increase in doses sent to the state, which has allowed us to make significant headway in the current 1A plus population. I have been encouraged by recent vaccine allocation updates the Biden administration has provided, and our team feels confident that we will continue to see steady increases in our allotment over the next several weeks. The progress of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the increased production of both Pfizer and Moderna have announced, along with positive developments from the federal government, have led Dr. Toomey and her team, in coordination with our office, to feel confident expanding Georgia's current vaccine eligibility.
Now, this sounds like good news, right? But does that mean it's now open season for everybody that wants a vaccine? Let's hear what the governor had to say next.
But before I go into that, I'd like to start by saying that we will continue to see more demand than we have supply. Appointments may continue to be hard to find and schedule. Again, I want to reiterate there will be more demand for the vaccine than the state has supply. With the expanded criteria we are announcing today, I continue to ask Georgians for their patience.
So those wanting the vaccine will need to be or continue to be patient. Starting on March 8th, adults with intellectual disabilities, their caregivers, and parents of children with complex medical conditions will be included in vaccine eligibility. The governor mentioned that many families in this particular population have reached out directly to his office with their concerns of being included in the state's vaccine distribution. But the eligibility expansion doesn't end there. Governor Kemp is also including a group he feels is imperative for helping Georgians get back to normal. Take a look.
Additionally, I believe it is vitally important for more Georgians to return to normal. For too many parents, this is simply impossible to do while your child is home learning through a screen. Virtual schooling is leaving too many children behind, and parents are literally at wit's end. They are also very exhausted. We must have every student back in the classroom 5 days a week, statewide. To ensure that happens as quickly as possible, effective March 8th, pre-K, K through 12, public and private school teachers and faculty, and the Department of Early Care and Learning educators and staff will now be eligible for the vaccine. We cannot say thank you enough to our teachers, school staff, administrators, early childhood educators, and countless others who have persevered through these truly unprecedented times. The vast majority of these hardworking Georgians have been in the classroom since last fall, and I appreciate the school systems and early learning and daycare facilities who have adapted and put interests of their students and children first. Whether in person, hybrid, staggered, or online only, each local school system did what they thought worked best for their communities.
All currently eligible or those that will become eligible on March 8th can visit myvaccinegeorgia.com to pre-register for their first dose at one of the state's 4 mass vaccination sites. The governor further mentioned that if all goes well with this March 8th expansion, by the end of the month, they are hoping to include Georgians with serious underlying health conditions under the age of 65. As of today, over 2 million doses of the coronavirus vaccine have been administered here in Georgia, and over 775,000 of those have already received the second dose. As the governor mentioned, more supply is being allotted from the government, and we do expect those numbers to rise substantially in the coming weeks. In Atlanta, Georgia, Philip Toledo, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Philip, for your report. Wow, that's amazing. 2 million total doses administered. It's a lot of very high number. Now, you mentioned the myvaccinegeorgia.com website. Is that the only place to find places to register for the vaccine there?
No, Anna, actually, there are several pharmacies across the state that are also administering vaccines. An easy way for residents to find an appointment is to just go and just search for the Georgia Department of Public Health. And then when you go there, there'll be a big blue button that talks about vaccines. You click that, and there's a list of all the different providers in one place to help you locate a provider or an appointment to be able to get the vaccine. In fact, I know some of my connections here in the Atlanta area have traveled as far as Augusta or Savannah, which is out close to the coast, just to be able to find an open appointment. Anna?
Yes, I know what you mean, Philip. It really does take a lot of patience to navigate through the appointment sites. But that's good that, there's one major place, and then they just, get connected to the other ones. Now, we know your wife is an educator, right? Does this expansion hit close to home?
Absolutely, Anna. My wife teaches high school, so for the most part, we assume that the students and the teachers that are around her, they're able to have they have some ability to be able to take the precautions, wear a mask, wash their hands, so forth and so on. But since we're both working, our son has to go to an early learning school or a daycare, and getting a 2-year-old to wear a mask for any longer than 30 seconds is pretty much impossible. So, the governor mentioned how schools, especially daycares, have had to adapt. And so not being able to go into my son's classroom or frequently meet with his teachers or even, his little friends, that's been pretty tough. So it's definitely welcome news on both accounts that for those that are interested in the vaccine, that these groups are going to be added. Anna?
Yes, that is good news, Philip. Now, what do you think about, you mentioned your son is in day school. What about the governor mentioning about students being back in school 5 days a week?
That's a good question, and as soon as I heard that, I cringed a little bit, because a lot of the school districts, at least here in the Atlanta area, they're doing some version of 4 days of school a week. In my wife's school district, they have a Wednesday as a non-instructional day, so that's a day where my wife can catch up on her plans. Students can catch up on their homework or their projects or whatever they're doing, and just to help with the pandemic and learning virtually. And that's one thing that I think, universally, people have been, very positive on. I mean, just imagine, if you normally work 5 days a week and suddenly it's reduced to 4. I think it's going to be a tough adjustment going back to 5 days a week when that does come. Anna.
Absolutely, Philip. Well, I honestly inspire teachers, especially during this time. This past year, they've had a really, really tough job adjusting, to the whole situation. So more power to your wife, and thank you on our behalf. Thank you, Philip, for your report, and stay safe.
All right. Thank you, Anna.
The McCarran Airport in Las Vegas is to have a new name pending federal approval. Eagle News correspondent Lori Jarvina is with us this evening with the details. Lori?
Thank you, Anna, and a warm greeting to all our viewers in America and abroad. I don't know about you, Anna, but it's been quite a while since I've traveled outside of Las Vegas, much less flown on an airplane anywhere. But maybe the next time I do fly out of Las Vegas, the airport will have a new name. On February 16th, the Clark County Board of Commissioners unanimously approved a name change from McCarran International Airport to Harry Reid International Airport. Why the change? Let's listen as a UNLV history professor, Michael Green, speaks to the Clark County Board of Commissioners.
I want to make clear that Pat McCarran did a lot for his state and for aviation, and some aspects of his life and career are admirable. No one should say otherwise. He was as entitled as any of us to his personal views. But he was an anti-Semite and racist, and he acted to put his anti-Semitism into law and government, and that is a significant difference. We name many things for people who have been important in our history and later find some of their words and deeds questionable or reprehensible. We are obligated to understand and evaluate them in light of the times in which they lived. The great news analyst Elmer Davis, a McCarran contemporary, once wrote of another senator that he spent the day wrestling with his conscience. He won. McCarran does not appear to have wrestled with his conscience on these issues, but if he did, he won, and that is shameful. It is time for us to let conscience win and have an airport in whose name we can take pride without shame. I believe that name is Harry Reid's for all that he has done for Nevada and the modern airport we have today, but I know it is not Pat McCarran's. Thank you.
Harry Reid was born in Nevada and served as a U.S. Senator for 30 years and later as a Senate Majority Leader. His nomination was widely supported by prominent Democrats throughout Nevada. According to a statement from Governor Steve Sisolak, Senator Harry Reid has never forgotten who he is or where he came from. He has spent his life and his career lifting up Nevada to what it has become today. He has helped to shape Las Vegas into a world-class tourism destination and a state that celebrates its diversity. Just as the controversial past of Pat McCarran pushed the decision for this name change, former Senator Reid's past, along with the possible backlash of naming the airport after a career politician, has also raised significant pushback. There's now a petition for the airport to be named Las Vegas International Airport. As of this afternoon, this petition had 14,455 signatures and climbing. Now, for a quick update on COVID-19 vaccine statistics, there are now over 620,000 total doses reported as administered for Nevada, accounting for 19.69% of the total population, and over 204,000 total vaccinations reported, which accounts for 6.49% of the total population. In Las Vegas, Nevada, Lori Jarvina, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Lori, for that report. I'm sure you'll keep us up to date on what happens there, what name it would be, replacing McCarran Airport. Now, I'm wondering, when was the last time you flew out of McCarran Airport?
The last time I flew anywhere out of Las Vegas was actually in 2019. In fact, actually, I take that back. We weren't even in Las Vegas yet. So no, I haven't flown out of McCarran Airport yet. But that was to visit my parents in Pampanga, Philippines. So I hopefully, soon travel will be open again. And in fact, a lot of people are traveling, it seems, more and more. But right now at the airport, when we just, took a look, there weren't too many people. So that kind of makes me feel a little bit safer maybe about traveling.
Yes, I noticed we also took a walk around the Strip this weekend, and there's a lot of people, but I think most of them are Californian, so they're driving in, not flying in yet. But so considering the pandemic, do you feel comfortable if you have to take a flight out? Do you feel comfortable being in a plane?
I think that, just seeing that maybe there are less people traveling, so that's, one reason to feel a little bit more comfortable. But also because of the vaccinations, that we're, seeing a steady increase in those being available to the population, that will definitely make all of us feel a little bit better about, traveling and moving about again.
Yes, Lori, you're absolutely right. I mean, the numbers, with the results of the vaccine, the numbers are very encouraging. So hopefully the next time you do need to take a flight out, it'll be much better and you'll be more comfortable. Thank you for your report, Lori, and stay safe.
Thanks, Anna. You too.
Still to come, stories from Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Dallas, Texas, and Edmonton, Alberta. This is Eagle News, America.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
You're watching Eagle News America. I'm Anna Queen, Las Vegas. Governor Tom Wolf introduces a bipartisan charter school plan that is designed to protect students, their parents, and the taxpayers. In Swarthmore, Bureau Chief Myla Simbulan tells us more. Myla?
That's right, Anna. The urgent need to hold charter schools and cyber charter schools accountable has increased as enrollment and taxpayer costs have swelled during the COVID-19 pandemic. Governor Tom Wolf unveiled a common sense and fair bipartisan plan that protects students, parents, and taxpayers. The plan holds low-performing charter schools accountable to improve the quality of education, protects taxpayers by reining in skyrocketing charter school costs, and increases the transparency of for-profit companies that run many charter schools. Here's Governor Tom Wolf to tell us more. Take a look.
Pennsylvania's charter school law is among the worst in the country. And because of that, many charter schools are charging taxpayers too much money. At the same time, they're providing a really poor education for their students. The problem is more important right now than ever before. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, enrollment at charter schools, and especially the cyber charter schools, has skyrocketed in the past year. And if we don't fix the problems in our charter schools now, we're going to be setting up students for failure. And that's a problem. We're also charging taxpayers too much. Taxpayers are paying too much. So both of these things are unacceptable. We must make changes to the way we fund and the way we operate charter schools if we want to provide the best education possible to young Pennsylvanians.
The state's flawed and outdated charter school law is regarded as one of the worst in the nation. The uncontrolled cost of charter schools is draining funding from traditional neighborhood public schools, forcing school districts to cut educational programs and hike local property taxes. Last year, taxpayers spent $2.1 billion on charter schools, including more than $600 million on cyber schools. This year, the burden on taxpayers will increase by more than $400 million. Between 2013 and 2019, 44 cents of every dollar of new property taxes went to charter schools, according to the Pennsylvania Association of School Business Officials. The governor's bipartisan proposal saves school districts more than $229 million a year by better aligning charter school funding to their actual costs, so school districts are not forced to overpay. This will be achieved by saving $99 million a year by applying the special education funding formula for traditional public schools to charter schools, as recommended by the Bipartisan Special Education Funding Commission. The governor is also directing the Department of Education to review how some cyber schools spend their Federal Emergency CARES Act funds to ensure the schools followed federal laws and regulations. House Democratic leader Joanna McClinton, Democratic Appropriations Chairman Matt Bradford, and Representative Joe Ciresi asked the Wolf administration to examine the cyber school spending after media reports on this issue. Right now, Anna, here in Swarthmore, it's 43 degrees Fahrenheit or 6 degrees Celsius with clear skies. In Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, Myla Simbula and Eagle News, we live in interesting times. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Myla. Now, I think you mentioned that charter funding is the worst there in Pennsylvania. What seems to be not working with it?
So, Anna, that's a very good question. The current flow process requires school districts to pay charter schools using the outdated assumption that 16% of students get special education. So, as a result of this, some charters are vastly overpaid for services they don't even provide, leaving special education students in school districts and other charter schools with less funding. Anna?
Thank you, Myla. Now, what's the state government doing to to kind of build the trust for the public and make for-profit charter school companies accountable to taxpayers?
So Anna, despite costing taxpayers more than $2 billion a year, charter schools have little public oversight, and there's no publicly elected school board. That's what we found out. For-profit companies required to have independent financial audits, and the governor's plan will increase transparency to restore the public's trust in charter schools by holding the for-profit companies that manages many of the schools to the same financial and ethical standards as school districts. Anna?
Thank you, Myla. I did not know that. I'm going to have to look into our state here to look into the charter school funding, because as we know, the public school can really use more funding to be able to provide good education to especially you mentioned the special education children. Thank you, Myla, for that report. Stay safe out there.
Thank you, you too.
President Joe Biden visits the Lone Star State a week after the devastating snowstorm left millions without power and thousands without water. Eagle News correspondent Susan Husk reports.
Thank you, Anna, and howdy from the Lone Star State. As Texas recovers slowly from the winter weather that caused loss of power and safe water for millions of Texans, President Biden visited city of Houston Friday as his first official trip to a major disaster areas since taking office. President Biden was joined by his wife, Jill. His first stop was the Harris County Emergency Operations Center, where he was briefed by acting FEMA Administrator Bob Fenton and by state and local emergency management officials who informed him that tens of thousands of Houston area residents are still without safe water and many are struggling. President Biden told stop workers that their Texas operation was probably the best one in the country. He also thanked relief workers for saving people's lives and doing God's work. President Biden was also joined by Republicans Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Senator John Cornyn, 4 Democratic Houston area Congress members, Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, and Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo. Meanwhile, First Lady Jill Biden was joined by the First Lady of Texas Cecilia Abbott as she toured the Houston Food Bank and helped pack food for residents. After his briefing, the president also met with volunteers from the food bank. Afterwards, he visited NRG Park to tour the FEMA Vaccine Distribution Center, where 6,000 COVID-19 vaccines were being administered. During his visit, President Biden promised that the federal government will support Texans as they try to recover. Not just the winter storm, but also the public health and economic crisis caused by the pandemic. President Biden stated, when crisis hits our states like the one that hit Texas, it's not a Republican or Democrat that is hurting. It's our fellow Americans that are hurting, and it's our job to help everyone in need. In Dallas, Texas, I'm Susan Husk, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Susan, for that report. Now, when was the last time you received a handwritten letter, put and sealed in an envelope, and then mailed to you? Canada is saying, let's make that happen again. In Edmonton, Bureau Chief Thomas Likeness is with us tonight to tell us more. Thomas?
Thank you, Anna. I should pose that question to you. When was the last time you got a handwritten letter?
Not too long ago, actually.
Oh, okay. That's rare. That's rare. But we'll talk about that throughout this report. Now, I don't mean a letter that comes in an envelope like this. You know, it's got a window on it. That's just a bill. And that's what I do with bills. I mean one that comes in the smaller envelope, no window on it. It's a personal handwritten missive, you know, a note that someone took the time to write with a pen in hand, their thoughts flowing through the ink onto the paper. They're the rare ones. They've gone the way of the horse and buggy. Well, Canada Post, that's the name of our postal service up here. Canada Post is trying to promote letter writing, even if it's just on a postcard. It's mailing free postcards to every household in the country, about 13.5 million in total. And it's part of a campaign called Right Here, Right Now. And right is spelled W-R-I-T, you know, right, handwrite. It was launched last fall to encourage Canadians to use letter writing as a way to connect with in a heartfelt way. You know, with the pandemic, we just don't see each other. We lack that personal contact, that face-to-face contact. Yeah, we've got email, we've got social media, and so on. But Doug Endinger, he's the head letter carrier. They call him the CEO of Canada Post. He says meaningful connection is vital for our emotional health, our sense of community, and our overall well-being. Edinger says Canada Post wants everyone to stay safe, but also to stay in touch with the people who matter to them. Now, they're mailing out these cards. There's 6 different versions of them, and each one offers a message of love, appreciation, or thanks. And they can be mailed to anybody in Canada free of charge. Just drop them off at a mailbox, community mailbox, or post office. You know, the post office has fallen on hard times these days. More and more people, of course, doing their personal business and communicating online. Fewer are simply not mailing letters. Fewer people write a letter. Handwritten letters, almost a thing of the past. In its 2019 annual report, Canada Post noted that the volume of residential mail has dropped You sitting down? By 55% since 2006. So, when was the last time you wrote a letter? In Edmonton, Canada, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Thomas. That's a heartwarming story. You asked me earlier when was the last time I received a letter, and it was not too long ago. But these days you receive a letter when there's major, life events or changes that happens in our lives. It's not like it used to be, right? Where you you sent letters to your friends across the country or abroad. So what about you, Thomas? What's the significance of a handwritten letter?
Oh, there's a lot of significance. Number one, it's a very memorable way to keep in touch with the people you love because, people keep letters. They treasure them. And some letters of historically significant people actually end up in museums and people go there to view them. Handwritten letters also show that you value the relationship because, you see, you took the time to sit down and put pen to paper and write it in a legible manner rather than bang out something in a lot of abbreviations on a text, and then you realize, I shouldn't have sent that. And it's also a class thing to do. You set yourself apart. Now, any of you single guys out there, if you want to make an impression on the one you're courting, send her a handwritten letter. You'll be different. You'll stand out. Like I said before, unlike text, you actually think about what you're going to say. It's not reactionary. The majority of texts and emails are just a reaction to something. They're very, very little thought in them. They're very, very shallow. A letter also can convey your personality. There's something about holding the pen in your hand, jotting down your thoughts. Your personality just seems to flow through this instrument here. Personality doesn't translate very well on a keyboard or if you're texting something. And a handwritten letter has power. People are more trusting of it than an online conversation. You take the technology out of communication and you get some trust. Anna?
Yes, Thomas, absolutely. You mentioned social media and texting, not to mention, the autocorrect, right? I mean, You mentioned earlier, I shouldn't have sent that because your autocorrect happened and it's not something you
loved.
Now, when was the last time you wrote a letter, Thomas?
Let me hang my head in shame here. It's been years. I would send cards to my wife when I was courting her. She lived in a different city. But, and I still give her cards, but, to actually drop something in the mailbox and send it to somebody, I'm ashamed to say it's been years. When she visited the Philippines, I even wrote letters to her there, sent her birthday card over there. Anna?
That's very nice. Well, Thomas, this is a reminder to all of us to, pick up our pen and even choose, maybe get out our old stationery papers and write a letter to someone special. Thank you, Thomas, for that heartwarming story.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you in a little bit. Okay. Up next, a report from Corpus Christi, Texas. And tonight's roundtable about National Peanut Butter Lovers Day. We'll find out from our Eagle News team here which peanut butter and blank makes it a perfect combination for them.
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Silent volume 450. FI on to 100%. Traffic back. Suctioning.
watching Eagle News America. I'm Anna Cui in Las Vegas. In Corpus Christi, Eagle News correspondent Jairus Kayabyab tells us how the city is celebrating the construction kickoff of an iconic landmark. Take a look.
And a howdy from the Lone Star State. Today, we take a break from the Texas winter storm coverage and focus our sights on the city of Corpus Christi, where the construction kickoff of a much cherished iconic landmark was held on Wednesday. For several decades, Cole Park Pier has been a popular destination for residents and tourists who have enjoyed fishing, sightseeing, or relaxing on the pier. For City Councilman of District 2, Ben Molina, Cole Park Pier had been a historical landmark for the city, and its reconstruction will create new memories for generations to come. He spoke with Eagle News to share the details behind the construction project.
Cole Park is one of the biggest parks in our city, and it attracts many visitors, not only from the residents here in the city, but also from around the area. Cole Park Pier is important to the city of Corpus Christi, and there's not many people that you can run into that they don't have a good memory, a visit that they had at Cole Park Pier. I know myself, I've got memories of there with my wife and my kids, and many people, they all have good memories. So it is important for the city of Corpus Christi, and what was important for us during this process was community engagement. So we had reached out to the community and incorporated some of their ideas and feedback. You know, a survey had went out, and because of that feedback that we got, we were able to incorporate a lot of their ideas. The pier was originally built in the 30s, and at the time it was about 1,500 feet long. And then back in 1972, it was rebuilt because it was destroyed by a hurricane way back when. And that was the pier that we all grew up on. At the time, it was just a few feet wide and about 500 feet long. It had sustained some damage due to Hurricane Harvey, so it was deemed unsafe and closed off. And a good thing that it was closed off to the public, because the front part of the pier, the entrance collapsed. And so had we kept it open, then people would have been injured. We took it up at the city council. We had our engineers go in, do an assessment. We tried to see if any of the existing pier could be salvageable, and it couldn't be. The damage was too far gone. In 2018, I pushed for the pier to be placed on the bond, and so the bond passed by the voters, and there wasn't a whole lot of money included in the bond for the pier, but there was enough to at least get the design started. Jacobs Engineering, they were awarded the contract for the design. In late December 2020, the City Council had awarded the contract to a contractor, and it is much wider than the old pier. And this is due to some ADA requirements that the old pier just didn't meet. So it's going to be a lot more accessible to everyone. At the end of the pier, instead of having a T-head, it's more of a oval shape at the end. What's also incorporated is shade structures and seating, which wasn't in place before. Also, what's different is the old pier had one fish cleaning station. Here we're going to have two large fish cleaning stations. There's an archway that's being built at the entrance of the pier with some signage. We're going to improve the lighting around the pier and leading up to the pier. There's going to be a plaza area built in front of the pier where citizens and the community can hold special events. A brand new walkway with additional lighting is going to be built from the existing parking lot to the plaza, which is going to reach the pier. And then on top of that, we're going to add some additional parking, which is very much needed at Cole Park Pier. So overall, it's going to be an improvement to Cole Park Pier. It's going to be a draw for the region, and especially a draw for our fishermen, those that like to go out fishing. The shade structures will not be in the way of the fishermen casting. I know that has been a concern. And if you go to the city's website, cctexas.com/Cole Park Pier, you'll see some more information about the pier. You'll see some drawings and a little bit of the history, more detailed about the pier.
On Wednesday, the groundbreaking celebration was attended by the city manager Peter Zanoni, Mayor Paulette Guajardo, city staff, and city council members. The new 500-foot pier will include shade structures, an observation area, and more parking, and is anticipated to be open to the public by this summer. Personally, I'm looking forward to the new pier. As Cole Park is a place full of fond memories for me, I enjoy going there with my family to picnic and relax while practicing social distancing. Meanwhile, I hope you are staying healthy and safe and building great memories there in your part of the world. In Corpus Christi, Texas, I'm Jairus Kayabyab, Eagle News. We live in interesting times. Back to you, Alan.
Thank you, Jairus, for that report. Now, on to our roundtable discussion. March 1st is National Peanut Butter Lovers Day. I want to ask our team here tonight what their favorite peanut butter recipe or what their favorite item to eat with peanut butter combination. So let's start with Eliza. Eliza, first of all, do you prefer the smooth peanut butter or the one with nuts?
I want the crunchy one. We love the crunchy one. And we eat it with toast, apple, celery. We mix it with our protein shake, bananas and milk, and then the protein powder. We cook with it. If you're familiar with the Filipino dish, kare-kare, we use a peanut butter with it. We use it also as dipping sauce for fresh spring rolls. You mix it with hoisin sauce and rice vinegar, and then mix, and then that's your dipping sauce for fresh spring roll or for peanut butter lovers.
I can tell there's much use of it at your home. We can always tell in this discussion when it comes to food, you can always tell who are the cooks, right? Who spend a lot of time in the kitchen. Well, thank you, Eliza. Now, what about Myla? Myla, what's nutty or smooth? And what's your favorite? What do you do with peanut butter in your house?
I love nutty, but I'm jealous with Eliza because all my kids have peanut allergies. So I know. So we use hazelnut instead on their spread. But I do love making chicken satay with peanut sauce. And actually, when I was pregnant with my kids, I love peanut butter on bananas. So I don't know why now they have allergies on it. But yeah, those are my favorites with peanut butter. Anna?
Thank you, Myla. Now, what about Lori?
For
nutty
peanut butter,
or, smooth and
let's see. I would say smooth personally for myself. But as far as peanut loving family, the boys in our family seem to love peanut butter, but more of like for desserts. So like Reese's peanut butter cups, but everything Eliza said, yes, for me. And also what first came to mind is something she also mentioned was kare-kare. And I was going to say it takes maybe a special, taste or a developed kind of taste for kare-kare because it's like peanut butter with bagoong, if you can imagine that. So, but that's delicious. And that's what came to mind personally first, kare-kare all the way.
Absolutely, but you'd be surprised how many non-Filipinos actually enjoy kare-kare also. Lori, thank you. Now, what about, let's go to Thomas. Thomas, smooth or nutty, and what's your favorite peanut butter dish?
Okay, smooth. That's because I don't use it as a spread. I really don't care for it, but I love to use it in cooking. Peanut butter cookies, nothing better. There's all kinds of sauces, aside from the kare-kare, which I like once in a while. There's a lot of Thai and Vietnamese sauces that you can dip your spring rolls in, and that's how I like my peanut butter. Anna?
Thank you, Thomas. And last but not the least, Philip. Smooth or nutty, and what's your favorite peanut butter dish?
I prefer in between. I like the fresh ground kind, and I'm going to go big. If you go to Minneapolis, they have this thing called a Juicy Lucy, which is a burger with cheese on the inside. But you can get a version that instead of just cheese, there's also peanut butter on the inside of the burger.
Wow, never heard of that one.
Not good for you, but it tastes good.
When it comes to food, Philip always seems to surprise us with food over there in Atlanta. We'll have to, well, you mentioned that's not in Atlanta, right? We'll have to try that. Well, thank you, Eagle News team, for sharing with us your peanut butter favorites. Now it's time to thank our frontliners, first responders, and essential workers. And team, let's join hands together and give them a much deserved round of applause. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. That is today's Eagle News America. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Anna Kui, and we live in interesting times.